ultimately, to achieve success within an organization from a sustainability standpoint, it always has to start at the top. CEOs have to embrace the value of sustainability to their organization, and by embracing more sustainable business practices, that it's good for the organization, not only in meeting their short-term business needs, but that it enhances the long-term value of the organization. And that's one of the reasons why the investment community is playing such a strong role right now in demanding organizations embrace sustainable practices. Investors want to make long-term investments and see the value of their investments grow. So clearly, with any initiative, it resides with the CEO. Now that said, many organizations do have champions who promote sustainable business practices, and that can occur in a lot of different business functions. Sometimes it occurs in the corporate relations group, sometimes in the communication group, sometimes in a more technical group like the safety, health, and environmental organization. So there's no one perfect role, if you will, or spot for sustainable, the champion of sustainability in an organization. But at the end of the day, it really needs to be embraced by the CEO. And the good news is there are more and more CEOs that are embracing sustainability as a strategic business value. And there was a report recently by McKinsey that compared and contrasted over a few years, and certainly the number of CEOs that are embracing sustainability and see the value of sustainability is trending up. It's important that organizations embed safety in their core values. That doesn't happen overnight. It has to, it's a process. It's a process that has to be earned. And like any set of values in an organization, it has to start at the top. It has to be viewed as a core value of the organization. That has to be modeled by senior executives, and it has to be consistent. It has to be consistently modeled over time by senior executives, and that has to be embraced by line management throughout the organization. I find it interesting if management is consistent in their views, that eventually people get the message. I'll tell one story, recent story. I've always admired the program, Safety and Health Management Program at Exxon. Their chairman, Rex Tillerson, has always been very consistent and in his approach. Safety, that safety is a core value of Exxon, that it's pushed throughout their organization. He leads from the top, and I think it's been demonstrated in their performance. Now, the interesting thing, of course, Rex Tillerson has just been approved by the U.S. Senate, is now the Secretary of State for the United States of America. And I heard a podcast of his introduction to the State Department staff. First time he's introducing himself to the State Department. And the first thing he said is one of the most important things is the safety of all of the employees of the State Department, whether they were in the Foreign Service or U.S. based, that his first priority would be the safety of the workers in the U.S. State Department. So I thought there's a great example of a guy who not only modeled it in a petrochemical organization, which you would expect, high-risk organization, but also I thought he did a great job of saying that to the employees of the State Department, which of course there have been some high-profile losses in the State Department. The whole discussion of Benghazi, occupied a lot of discussion time, and at the end of the day, there were 4 State Department employees killed in that event. But I thought it very interesting that Rex Tillerson, in his first words to the State Department staff, said that safety was his #1 priority. Top management has to embrace it, and a lot of times it's going to come from the beliefs of the senior management and their core values. But I think also the recognition that it brings value to the organization, and that shines through. So, from a safety culture standpoint, where a senior executive understands it and communicates it and expresses it as an expectation, those organizations are going to do well in safety, and I'd argue are going to just do well in business. Those are sound organizations, and that seems to have played out time and time again. It seems to me that for organizations to be successful in safety, it really has to be a top management expectation. And not only is it just an expectation that management would say, this is something that's important and needs to be implemented throughout the organization, but management needs to have their set of measurements. It has to be monitored and tracked from the senior level, such that it's clear throughout the organization that this is something that management cares, whether it's through the C-suite executive team or even at the level of the board of directors. It's something that has to be constantly in focus, but also measured and evaluated.